Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. I'm Bradley Clark, and I'm so blessed and honored that you decided to tune in and join us today. Today we have a special show today. It's a little different. One thing that I've noticed in interviewing everyone that we've interviewed so far is the one common denominator, the one constant is a strong spiritual foundation. What we don't find out a lot of times is how a person arrived at that strong spiritual foundation and get the story and the backstory behind it, and a lot of times that foundation is what their company or their business is built on. And so today we have Chris Clayton, who is a 30-year CEO of Cornerstone Financial, and he gives us the inside scoop on how he came to faith and how that faith guides him throughout his journey in business and in finance. So I hope that really speaks to you today, and get ready for an amazing show. Now, we can't move forward without talking about White Husky Films. If you have anything and everything, got it right this time, pertaining to video, anything you want to document, get in touch with Steven Saldana. His phone number is on the screen, or of course you can visit us at www.whitehuskyfilms.com. Dream, create, record in that order, and when you choose White Husky, you will be so glad you did. So for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Chris Clayton of Cornerstone Financial. Catch you on the flip side. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us today. Cannot tell you how blessed we all are that you guys chose to tune in and join us today. I have an amazing guest today. He is the founder of Cornerstone Financial. I got to read this because it's just, there's too much for me to memorize. I'm sorry. But he's the founder of Cornerstone Financial in Mandeville, Louisiana. This firm is not a young firm. It's going on 30 years old, several hundred clients. Just talking to this individual for just a few minutes, relationships are huge, and we're going to get into all of that. But let me just introduce Mr. Chris Clayton. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, Bradley. Great to be here. I'm excited about seeing where the Lord brings our conversation today.
Amen. Amen to that. So now just a few bullet points on your background. The one thing we like to do here at Work Your Career Wednesday is we can tell, and anybody can really, anything that's worth having is worth working hard for, right?
Sure.
But it doesn't come along like all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, oh, I should do this, So I would love to get into your story and sort of what brought you to where you are today.
Sure. So I can look back now on my life over 6 decades, and I can see some patterns. The patterns that I see in terms of serving people, and this won't come as a surprise to anybody, but I can really see the themes of protection and provision the whole way through, whatever the Lord assigned me to. So one of my first assignments was when I was a Boy Scout camp counselor back in the late 1970s. And one summer I was assigned to oversee the waterfront, which was all the swimming, all the boating, canoes, rowboats, sailboats. And I remember my camp director coming to me, and I was 18 years old, almost 19. And this was really the first responsibility that I had in life. And he came to me and he said, Chris, this camp has been around for 50 years. Nobody's ever drowned at the waterfront. We can't have anybody drown on your watch or come close to it. So that was my charge. Leave no man behind, nobody drowns. That was the standard.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a team that I oversaw, about
At
5 of them
19 years
total.
old.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
your
I was
charge
the
at 19 years old, and I, what's funny is you can kind of go and look at that and sort of see how things have changed. At 19 years old, your charge was nobody drowns. That's
right.
bottom line. And by the way, here's your team. So you're essentially hiring at that point. So I'm assuming you chose the people that would be on your team.
Actually, they were picked for me, but they were very
You're,
skilled, so I was fortunate.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have a skilled team, and your charge is everybody goes home,
Yeah.
just seeped in service. Oh, Lord have mercy. I love that. Please, that just touches my heart. At 19 years old, that's a big responsibility. So please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, this is great. So I took my responsibility seriously, and through God's grace, nobody came close to drowning
That's what
that
I'm talking
summer. We
about.
had a great summer. Everybody had fun in and on the water. But that was really the standard for me professionally for everything else that I did following that.
Really?
Yeah.
So so the standard is excellence in that everybody has a good time, goes home, nobody gets hurt.
Yes.
Okay. So then after that, like, did you go to college? Did you,
I
where?
did. I went to school. Our family moved to New Orleans when I was 8 years old,
Mm,
and I'm still in the New Orleans area. I stayed in the New Orleans area for college. I went to the University of New Orleans. I studied
okay.
political science, and
All
I
right.
was thinking, yeah, I was thinking at that time, I probably want to be a lawyer because I'm going to change the world.
Mm,
Surprise, I'm the one. I'm going to be one of the ones to change the world. Okay. So along the way, and this is where my Christian testimony comes in. Along the way, I'm a freshman in college, and I hear this voice tell me it's time.
mm,
And I knew who that voice was. It was the Holy Spirit,
mm,
but I wasn't ready to turn my life over to Jesus. I was so young
man.
that this was the plan I bought into. It wasn't of God, but the plan I bought into, I wasn't the first one to do this either, is I'm going to run my own life so I can do whatever I want to do and I can have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And when I get really old, like maybe 50 or
Wow.
more,
Yeah.
I'm going to turn my life over to Jesus because I know he's God and I don't want
Sure.
to go to hell. That was my game plan. But the
Right.
Holy Spirit, for some strange reason, decided to disrupt my plan and come
Imagine
to
that.
me. I'm a freshman in college, and he never talks to me while I'm in class. He was a gentleman, he respected authority. He would wait until I'm between classes, and that voice would come to me, and I knew who he was, sort of like a Saul listening to the voice from heaven type thing on the
Yeah.
road to Damascus.
Yep.
So I tried to avoid him, and I tried to make it so that when he would come to me in between classes, that I would just try to get to the next class quicker so he had less time to try to find me. I mean,
So
how?
what was that like? Like, so it was multiple times. It wasn't
Yeah,
just one time. And
multiple.
you were saying like it was sort of like a Saul Damascus Road experience.
Yeah,
I mean, to, I mean, to phrase it in a different way, some people hear that voice and it's a voice that it's hard to describe. It permeates the body.
yes,
That makes sense. Like it's the I don't know. It's like the whole body is uh, is an ear or a receiving. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it adequately because it's that amazing. But are you saying like for you was it? I mean, would it like stop you in your tracks?
You know what I mean? In between classes.
It could have stopped me in my tracks, but I was trying to avoid the Holy Spirit. So I just
You just
walked
kept
past
running.
him. I was running for God. And I was so, I don't know, a combination of naive, ignorant, prideful.
Sure.
Even though I had a head knowledge of God, I thought he was wonderful. I thought I could outmaneuver him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sort of crazy. So
Right.
anyway, he just kept coming to me.
Yeah.
And at one point, and the way I would describe him talking to me is that he spoke very clearly.
Yeah.
The tone made it so I knew it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he could say a few words, and those few words would be worth 1,000 words. I knew what
Mm-hmm.
those words meant.
Right. Yeah.
So I knew what he was after. He was after me.
Mm. Mm.
I didn't think I thought I was going to run my life.
Sure. Do you ever ask yourself why in that moment when you were a kid? Like, why? Why me?
Um, why he was calling
Yeah.
me.
Like, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look, I
I
have
just
my
figured,
own, I have my plans, man. Like, I don't know what
yeah,
you're trying to do. I got my plans. Why? Could you just, can you give me 5 years? You know, just, I mean, I don't even have to have the whole 30. Can you just give me 5? You know?
yeah. I just knew after he came to me a few times, he wasn't going to go away. And
And
then
you're
one of those
serious.
times that he came to me, it was like a wrestling match where I knew he was going to win. I was outmatched. So begrudgingly,
How'd your hip fare after that conversation?
um, not just my hip, my entire being was messed up because I tapped out. I said
Right.
begrudgingly, I wasn't excited. I just begrudging at that point. I
Right.
just begrudgingly said, okay,
Yeah.
all right, something to that effect. I'll do what you want. Well, he liked that because what he did very shortly after that, one day I'm walking on campus and this fellow walks up to me. He's got a crew cut, he's got military fatigues on. So I thought he was going to try to recruit me for the army when actually the Lord had sent him to recruit me for the Lord's army.
Wow.
So we just start talking about Jesus out of the blue. He initiates the conversation and he winds up giving me a book from a group called Campus Crusade for Christ.
Love it.
So I
Okay.
read the book. I have a sinner's prayer embedded in the book. I
Uh,
say the sinner's prayer. After I said the sinner's prayer, something changed inside of me when
mm,
that new ownership happened and I yielded to God. And
mm,
all of a sudden, my main desire became Jesus, not to be a lawyer, not to change the world, just to know Jesus. So I picked up my Bible, Christian literature, and I just have this tremendous appetite, which I still have for the Lord. So
mm.
I am just consuming the word, reading the word, seeing it really clearly for the first time, and just being amazed at what's in the scriptures.
Mm.
So that was really the turning point in my life.
Wow. So, you'd mentioned you were a Boy Scout, you know, uh, strong family
Yeah.
growing up,
Yeah.
sort of knew the ins and outs, been to the youth group, the youth, what did they call it, youth group back then?
Yeah.
Something like that. And, Sunday school and all that, an Eagle Scout, no less. So you think you got it all together and you got your plan, and it's a good plan. I'm going to change the world. And especially back then, my God, there was plenty to change, you know?
Not anymore.
Oh, well, right. But, you have that experience where it's like all of a sudden, boom, everything changes, priorities change. everything changes. Was it, and I'm asking, for the audience so they understand, was it difficult at all for you to switch course, do a course correction at all? Was it difficult at all, or was it, nope, I know now what's going on?
I would say mostly it wasn't difficult because I knew he was the way.
Come on.
I just wasn't ready for him yet.
Yeah.
But he was ready for me. So one thing that helped me get great clarity was that studying political science, I was being presented and studying a lot of different ways to view the world, different philosophies of life.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere from something that's called existentialism, where nothing means anything, to communism, socialism, humanism, all the isms. So those were swimming, all the isms were swimming around in my head,
mm-hmm.
along with Christianity. So I really felt, probably for the first time in certain ways, a real battle for my mind. So I had to decide which ism.
Talk about that. What does that? What does that mean? What does that mean? A battle for your mind?
Yeah. So in my mind, it's like I'm thinking, what's right? Which one of these is right?
Mm.
So, and this was after I said yes to Jesus and the
Right.
Holy Spirit. But then he's trying to take full occupation. So he's got to work through some things in my mind. I have these different things floating in my mind. So basically, I just said a prayer, and it's like, I need clarity. Which one of these is right? Jesus, if you're the right one, like I believe and like I've yielded to recently, you just have to show me. So he just came upon me and just gave me a peace that, like, I'm the way, just like it says in the scriptures, I am the way. And then I thought, yeah, you really are, because these other isms, they just don't make sense.
I mean, on their face, if folks, study, we're in such a meme culture now.
Yeah.
Where people aren't reading the article, they read the headline. We're in a, so when you're studying these other forms of government or other philosophies, and once that light switch is turned on, when the Lord's saying, I'm the way, and then you look at that, and then you embrace it, and it becomes your core. And then you're looking at the different forms of government, different philosophies, all the isms, Marxism, socialism, communism, all of these things. Did you have a moment where it was like, something doesn't seem right about those particular isms? Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely had that. And I thank my parents for that, because the family that I grew up in, there's this saying, you don't talk about religion and politics. Well, that's all we talked about. And
Right.
we would have family dinners, and my dad would initiate conversation typically. So he would present his view of things. I felt like his view of things was the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I just decided not to live that. I decided to live that truth selectively till the Holy Spirit got a hold of me. One thing that really nailed down my all-in belief of Jesus is I got a hold of some material by a guy named Josh McDowell called Evidence That Demands a Verdict. I don't know if you know his
book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful book. Wonderful book. What do you, who's the evidence author? Name's Sobel.
Lee
Strobel. Lee Strobel.
Yeah.
Very interesting companion to the book you mentioned. Yeah. Interesting.
Definitely.
Man, I'm loving this. Please keep going. It's great.
Well, those two guys were skeptics.
Yeah.
But they were challenged to research, as you know, and the more research they did, the more evidence they saw for Christ being who he said he was.
Right.
So I decided to look at their material because I already bought into Jesus, but I wanted to know more of the why from a
Sure.
historical and spiritual standpoint. The thing that I like the most about Jesus that separates him from anyone else, number one, everything that was prophesied about him came true, including him rising from the dead. That's not difficult. That's impossible unless you're God.
That's right.
So that separates Jesus from every other contender, in my opinion. And then the other thing that just enamors me to Jesus is his love of people, and that it's unconditional. And then when I look back on my life and how much I've missed the mark so many times, even when I knew better, but he still took me back. Who does that?
No, God.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Now he's had to bring me to the woodshed a few times, no doubt. And I've deserved it probably more than I've gotten it. But I believe in him, not just in my head, because of what I know about him historically and from a factual standpoint, but just as much, if not more so, just the experiences I've had with him for several decades. He's so real to me. I talk to him, I listen to him. He guides me, he cares for me, he's everything.
How when you so I want to go back to when you were, sort of researching, you have this newfound faith and now you're trying to put it all together. God says, I'm the way, just period. And then you're sort of debating, I would say probably within yourself first, right? Before you're going externally and with friends or the discussion or, going hanging out in the quad, and talking about this stuff. When you were looking at these things, and I'm not trying to pin you down on something, but I'm really curious. When you're looking at the isms, I guess what I'm asking, did you see where sort of the worldly or the downright evil is in some of these isms? And would you think you would have seen it prior to having your Damascus Road experience?
I did see the evil in it, but then after having my experience, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. So it wasn't just head knowledge, but I could feel the impact of the different belief systems.
Please expand. Let's talk about that. What was that like?
I could just see that different belief systems are really different paths you can take, and that each path is going to lead to a predictable destination, and that none of the destinations were life-giving except for the one that Jesus put people on. It was very clear to me that everything else was a mix of confusion, evil, selfishness, meaninglessness versus life itself. He made it pretty easy for me to affirm my decision. He's such a contrast to worldliness.
I've always said that God as a being is so multifaceted. It's almost impossible for humans to kind of grasp it. It's like, for example, you always hear why does this happen if he's, so loving and so just, without looking at the different things that surround a particular event or a particular, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so, whether there's something good happens or something bad happens or something downright evil and heinous happens, there's always several different facets as to why. And sometimes they're painful, but they're different facets. I am loving this conversation. Absolutely loving it. Chris, we're going to take a break. Everybody stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to see where God takes us. So stick around. We will be right back.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films. You'll be glad you did.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Work Your Career Wednesday. I got to tell you, we've just been having a wonderful conversation during the break. This is such a blessing. Today we have Chris Clayton, CEO, founder of Cornerstone Financial, and we're going through his story that includes a very significant and hefty Damascus Road experience. When we left off, we were talking about the isms, and sort of being able to delineate, or not delineate, sort of see the differences and the similarities all at the same time. And let's go from there. So you stayed in the poli-sci sort of track, or what happened at that point?
Yeah, I got a poli-sci degree, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I figured I'll probably
I'm pre-law.
Pre-law. Yeah, I have a lot of, on my dad's side especially, I have a lot of lawyers and judges and, so that was just a natural path for me to take. So I went and visited the summer after I graduated from college. I visited a Christian law school in California, 2 seminaries in the Midwest. I got accepted into all 3, but I just didn't have a peace about going into any of them. So I went to my dad, who was a prudential agent, and he, hard worker, he would work 14, 15 hours a day. He had more than he could keep up with. So I just said, Dad, how about if I come work with you for a little while until we see what the Lord has for me? And I don't think I verbalized this, but this is what I was thinking is, I'm definitely not going to be a financial planner like you, because I'm really wonderful. Right. And I'm one of God's chosen ones. So he's got something bigger for me than what I've been seeing you doing for 30 years.
Right. I mean, he would talk to me in between classes.
Yeah. Well, he didn't tell me that part though. That was my pride speaking.
Exactly. Right. Of course. So, I mean, don't you know? I mean,
Yeah. So that was a really pivotal time in my life, because I was seeking the Lord for his will. I wanted to do his will. And my understanding of his will at that time was a vocation. So I figured I gotta understand the right vocation for me. Once I do, I will be on the right track to fulfill God's will for my life. Well, I got a hold of some teaching tapes by a gentleman who was very popular in the 80s and 90s named Malcolm Smith. So I had 3 cassette tapes, a series of 3 tapes, probably $15 total, entitled The Will of God. Okay, great. I am going to get to learn the will of God for $15. Can't beat it. Right. So I put the first tape in my car, listened to that, second and third tape. So guess what I learned? The will of God isn't a vocation, it's a person. His name is Jesus. Jesus is the will of God. So as long as you're tracking with Jesus, it doesn't matter if you're the shoe shine boy, you're a grocery clerk, or you're the president of the United States, or anywhere in between. If you're following Jesus, you're in the will of God. So I saw it was a relationship. I got a revelation of that. That totally set me free. That totally ignited me. It answered my question. So now I knew I could really do anything and be in the will of God as long as I'm tracking with Jesus. So that was awesome.
Wow. So how did that change? How did that change you?
I just had joy.
So you were like, I'm good. I'm going to go work with my dad, or essentially I'm going to work for my dad. And I'm good with it. because I could do this for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I'd be happy as long as I'm in the Lord.
Yeah, except for the fact that the only way I saw him and his peers model their vocation was to work all day and all night, 6 or 7 days a week. And I didn't know there was another way you could work that business.
Sure.
So I just figured I can't do this because I want to fall in love. I want to get married. I want to have children.
Right.
And this isn't a real friendly business for that because of the night work and the weekend work. So left that, worked for 1.5 years for Dictaphone, went door to door, knocked on doors. Would you like dictation equipment? No, next door. Would you like some dictation equipment? No, next door. So, you might have to take 20 no's to get one yes or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like sales boot camp. It was good. Did that for 1.5 years. Then I answered an ad in a newspaper to sell glue to factories.
Okay.
Which doesn't sound very romantic, and it isn't, but glue holds the world together.
Glue holds the world together. Oh, absolutely. Well, I was an engineering recruiter. Glue's a big deal. Yeah.
So you can appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very big deal.
Yeah.
That's a very big deal. So you did that.
Did that for 8 years.
Wow.
I was fortunate to get with one of the top companies in the industry. So their standards were very high. I was in a district amongst some fellow sales reps who were, we were one of the leaders, if not the leader in the country at any time. So the bar was raised really high to perform every day, all day, which I liked. I like good, friendly competition. So that was a great experience. I exceeded all my numbers, so I was rewarded by being downsized.
Well, I know what that's like. I know exactly what that's like. Okay.
And you know what's sort of funny, Brad, is that a lot of my life, and I don't think I'm this way as much anymore, but I used to be the one who thought, yeah, that's going to happen or could happen to you, but it's not going to happen to me because I'm special. Not going to happen to me. I remember people telling me, Chris, once they're finished using you, they're just going to say goodbye to you. And I thought, no.
Not
well,
me.
A couple of people who told me that, they were right. So I left the manufacturing world and I learned a lot there. Stuff that I still use today. I left the manufacturing world. At this time, I'm married, 3 daughters, house note, all 3 in school. Wife is staying at home. So I needed a whopping $3,000 a month to pay my bills, which if I could go back to $3,000 a month of income needed today, I don't know how I'd do that. Anyway, it seemed like a lot of money then. It was a lot of money to me. So I am looking for something to do to put bread on the table. So that's how I got back in this industry.
And this industry being financial services.
Yep, financial services. And I was really doing it more so from a practical standpoint to just put bread on the table. I figured, and it took me a while to really get traction. Sometimes people call it the wonder years. I wonder if I'm going to make it type thing.
Yeah, right.
It's just hard learning a profession like that, even though I had been in it and assisted my dad for 3 years when I was younger. So it really took about 3 years until I got to the point where I was a decent breadwinner in this industry.
Well, it's really interesting about, your story and kind of what I'm picking up on is, everything is preparation. Every single thing is preparation for the next thing or whatever God has for you. And, a lot of people don't realize it, and they get the scripture wrong. It's the love of money. It's not the money.
Yes.
Right. Is the root of all evil. It's the love of it. You could say it's the love of mouse pads, the love of social media, the love of email, whatever it is that is consuming you, right? It is an evil root. Money, though, in particular, is a life. It's life. You can't survive without it. Most people don't know what it's like to be in a situation to build upon what you have actively. It's completely foreign to them. They're used to a paycheck and promotion, and hopefully they're not downsized and blah, 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 blah. They don't know what it's like to, trust someone with the lifeblood of what makes their world go round. What's interesting is that, preacher, my dad was an evangelist, my mom was a gospel singer. And, he used to say, it's an old preacher reference, you show me your checkbook, I'll show you where your focus is. And so, you're called, you are, God's speaking to you from a very young age. You're in a position of service from a very young age. And then you end up, you're called, you're still doing your own thing a little bit. And then you come back to this service of helping people achieve financial freedom. Wow. It's incredible. What a path. And so, so you're downsized, you go back into this industry. I love the name of your company, Cornerstone Financial, right? That's a special meaning to us. What was it beyond the, going through it, the wonder years, did you have that mind switch to, it's like, man, I'm helping people. I'm ministering to them. I'm showing them, I'm assuming you're showing them biblical principles on how to do better with their money. Right?
Yes.
Let's explore. Tell me about that. When you kind of made that connection, what was that like?
Well, I'll tell you about two seeds that were planted in me when I was working for my dad before I left his practice. So one of the seeds is that one meeting I went to with him, and he would tell me before the meetings, Chris, don't say anything, just listen and learn. Okay, Dad. So not in a mean way, but just, this is what you need to do. So I remember in that meeting that he presented two investment options for an existing client, had a great relationship with the existing client. So we're sitting down at the dinner table with him, his wife's in the kitchen, busy doing stuff, serving us coffee. So it gets down to the time where the client says to my dad, he says, Ben, which option do you think I should take? So one option was going to pay my dad a lot bigger commission than the other. And at that time, I was keeping my dad's checkbook, and I knew he didn't have any money in there to speak of at all. But this is what he
needed
said.
That commission.
Yeah, but this is what he said. He said, and the gentleman's name was Richard. He said, Richard, this more robust option, that would really be great for you, but it really doesn't fit where you are right now. So I think you should do the smaller one for now. That blew me away. That showed me that the standard was to put other people first, no matter what. And I decided at that moment, I am going to be that same person as my dad.
I love that.
That messed me up, as you can tell, but in a good way.
Well, yeah. I mean, what a character example.
Yeah.
I mean, if he'd have gone, with the prototypical sales thing, that would have planted one heck of a seed in you, but he didn't. And he's exactly who you knew him to be. That is amazing, man. That's amazing. So you've had a lot of like great examples, obviously.
Yes.
You've had a lot of support and success, even in the bad times.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the bad times. What was a time where you were like, God, I know you have something. Heard your voice. I get it. I just don't know how I'm going to make it. Have you ever had one of those moments?
Yes.
What was that like? And sort of how did you get through that? Because
Yeah,
so
great.
far, I mean, it's God's speaking to me. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm in success. I got laid off, but what was it like in the like bad times where you're like, Lord, you need to show up right now?
Yeah, so you got to understand my story. It's really a charm story, as you can probably tell already.
Mm-hmm.
So every challenge I've had, I would put in the first world champagne version category. So relatively speaking, I can't say that, I can't, I see what's going on in the world and what happens to people here and there.
Yeah.
And I can't thank the Lord enough for being easy on me, although he has helped me to learn a thing or two. So the one example I'm thinking of is this was probably around 2007, and things are rocking and rolling. My career is going great, making good money, plenty of extra money. We're doing fun things with our lives, our family is. But then the Holy Spirit says, Chris, you're about to enter the crucible. Okay. So I write that down because I've been journaling for quite some time. So I write that down in my journal. So my wife and I, her name's Duffy. My wife and I, she's a PK kid. She's one of the good ones. She's not a wild PK. She's like pure as the driven snow PK.
She's the one.
Yeah. So anyway, so we went through, I've heard a saying that you're tested in the areas that you are most strongly called to. So the testings we've had have been primarily either money tests or relationship tests or a combination of both. So the crucible was mostly money tests. So we had a series of setbacks financially, and each setback was anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000, and it was one after the other over the course of 3 or 4 years. So before you know it, we're in the hole about $600,000. So that was
2007. That there was a lot of people in that position.
Yeah, and the way I'm wired, I'm a saver and investor. I'm not a person who's real comfortable with carrying a lot of debt. But all of a sudden, I go from all my savings are gone to we're in debt, a couple of $100,000, whatever it was. Oh. So I just remember it was probably, I have it all written down somewhere, but it wasn't Job. It was Job extra light, just money. It's like this happens, then that happens, and that happens. So you're thinking when you're going through it, okay, that just happened. Okay, now we can regroup and we can move forward. Then another thing would happen. Then another thing would happen. So you just have to know that I think in a lot of ways my life tracks with Joseph in the Bible, in the sense that I'm called to things that he's called to, but I was, and hopefully I'm not as arrogant. I was very arrogant and very prideful as a young fella. So that had to be worked out. So God sovereignly said, okay, this is a really good time to start to work out some of the arrogance and the pride and the self-reliance so that I can have you, really have you. I remember one point in time when we were way into, and part of the setback was the whole 2008 financial crisis.
Right.
So I remember our family business, went in the hole $8,000 a month for 18 months in a row on average.
Wow.
So when we were a good ways into that, I just remember going to the Holy Spirit and saying, man, you know, I don't think I can take this anymore. I'm at the end of myself, which I'm glad. I think he was happy to hear that, by the way. So
Right.
this is what he
Like, that's
told
kind of the
me.
point, Chris. You know,
Yeah.
do we have
Yeah.
to,
But
did we have to go, $500,000 and $8,000 a month in the business? That's the point, Chris. Glad you know, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, that's right. So I remember when I went to him about that and things just didn't look good on paper. They didn't feel
Yeah.
good. This is what he told me. He said, you're never going to be without resources from me, both in the natural and in the spirit.
Come on. Come on.
So I believed
Wow.
him, and
Yeah.
he's been faithful. That was around 2009, and he's been running a tight ship with me. Um, yeah, so
Man, God is good. I tell you, the reason that story, and you're talking, and I get the whole champagne first world problems, but no, you know, when someone is at the end of their financial rope, there's a whole plethora of things that happen, particularly I think with men, or if you're a breadwinner, it's like you're a failure. You feel like a failure. You know what I mean? I've been there. That's exactly how I felt. I felt like an absolute failure. I'm going from a high net worth to literally negative, much like what you're talking about. I get that, and it was hard on me, and it tested me in ways that I didn't feel like I deserved to be tested, and I didn't feel like I would ever come out of it. I totally get it, and I think for where we are now just, I mean, the inflation is through the roof. We went to Kroger the other day and wanted to see what we could get for $50. And my wife is like, if anyone can squeeze, a dollar out of a nickel, it is Erica Clark. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We had for $50, we had bread, a couple bags of shredded cheese. I think, let's see, bread, eggs, and there was something else. Sparkling water, like the Kroger 12-pack sparkling water. $50. It's $50. People are struggling right now. They're hurting. Whether they are living on 50 grand a year or 500 grand a year, or wherever they are, or over that, it's a very, very big deal. And to have that assurance, that blessed assurance, is something that people will have a hard time understanding. And I think what I'm getting from your story is, at the end of the day, it is all about the Lord. It's all about Jesus, period. And once you grasp that, you really can move in ways that you didn't think you could move. Chris, we're going to take another break. When we come back, give us some bullet points on what it takes to be a successful financial planner, or what it takes to be successful in your career. Does that sound good?
yes.
All right. We will be right back. Stay with us with more Chris Clayton, Work Your Career Wednesday. Thanks a lot.
Attention lawyers. Are you tired of wasting thousands of dollars in billboards, magazines, and more with little results? If so, we can help you save big. Did you know that a powerful video can be used on practically any platform and get you more clients than just one billboard alone? Visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. Call or text us today to receive a limited time offer. Take advantage of this one while it's here. It won't last long.
Everybody, welcome back to Work Your Career Wednesday. We're here with Chris Clayton and just having an incredible conversation. I was telling you earlier, the people that I've interviewed, the one thing that's constant is a strong spiritual foundation. It's the one thing that is constant, that they all say it. They all live it. You know what I mean? So you have had Cornerstone Financial for 30 years, highly successful firm, have weathered several storms, including the one we just talked about. So you were in the business of hiring folks. You got a team. What is it that you look for when you hire people?
I look for a combination of things. Number one, since we handle money intimately, they have to be someone who's not going to steal money. I've heard it.
Okay. Right. That's yes. I would think.
Yeah, we all know about Bernie Madoff, and he was the fox watching the hen house, and
right.
So that is indispensable. That's non-negotiable. It needs to be somebody I can trust implicitly with money. Number two, loyalty is a big factor. Work ethic's big. Their ability to work as a team member, not a lone ranger, critical. They don't have to be perfect in terms of their abilities, but I want them to be someone who wants to grow into what they can be. And I'm happy to help with that process. I do like to have team members that are goal oriented, that want to not have the same existence career wise from day to day, year to year, but they want to grow. They want to see substantial differences. So that's important. So I think that's a lot of the key factors.
So when you're interviewing, what are some of the questions you would ask to sort of ascertain someone's loyalty or work ethic? And you can look at past behavior and predict future outcomes, but to get into the weeds a little bit on your process, what does that look like?
I think one of the ways I can tell if they're going to be loyal to me is I'll share my vision with them and see how they respond to it. I remember when we were filling one key position 6 or 7 years ago, we went to Indeed, 80 people applied, only 15 people followed the instructions. So I told the team member who was spearheading that hire, let's just consider the 15. So that person picked the top 5 people for me to interview. I sat in front of 4 of them. One person set themselves apart by far. When I cast the vision for what I wanted to see happen with the enterprise going forward, that person literally leaned forward in their desk and said, I want to help you grow. Yeah. So I knew that there was a connection there, a chemistry that was going to be indispensable. So really, I think that you find out how loyal somebody is very quickly, and you don't find that out from a practical standpoint until you actually get them in the office with you and watch them for a week, maybe a month at most. After that amount of time, you know who you're working with, and they know who you are.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation where you really think a lot of the person, you hire them and they're not getting it,
Yes.
Is it at that point, do you explore other ways they can help the organization, or is it maybe time to shepherd them out into another company?
Great question. What I do is I sit down with them along with a witness, and then I share with them, these are some key areas where you're missing it. and you've got to course correct. This is not negotiable if you want to stay here. So the way that's played out is that we'll have that conversation. And then unfortunately, there's been 2 or 3 people over time who we sat down, had that conversation, and then the Holy Spirit said, don't get rid of them yet, give them another chance. So I give them another chance, have the same conversation. One person, we sat down 3 times. The 3rd time, the Holy Spirit said it's time to let them go, because they didn't align with me, which really means aligning with everything within our business, our clients, the other team members. You just can't have non-alignment.
Yeah, it's impossible. You can't teach alignment. It's either there or it's not. You know?
That's right.
You know, very, very interesting. I love that. What's your approach to well, so you've had this business, built it from the ground up for 30 years. So you're in a position to where you were managing, and later on you're leading, right? Because there's 2 different things, management and leadership, different,
Sure.
So what was your approach to managing, and then what's your approach to leadership?
Yeah, I would say my management approach in the past years ago was unenlightened and more robotic.
Interesting. Well, if you notice, like, everybody reads the same books.
Pretty
You know
much.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody reads the same books.
Yeah.
It's like, it's interesting to see how people apply it. You know what I mean? But I have never heard anyone flat out say, yeah, it was robotic. I probably, interesting. Wow. I'm sorry. I mean, I love that. Please continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was robotic because I was trapped personally with what's called performance orientation. So that's just a fancy way for saying I was striving constantly to get things done, and it was never enough. So I was putting pressure on team members that was unrealistic. So, and I wasn't really treating the team members as people, more as people that I was using to achieve my personal goals.
Wow.
But one day, this is what happened. My wife sat me down and helped me see what I was missing. And that's when I started to make some personal changes.
What were the changes?
Well, I had to learn to accept other people's imperfections, which God was already doing with me. I had too high of a standard. You had to be perfect or I was going to lay into you. That's just crazy. It's micromanaging that. And I'd been around long enough and I cared enough. I still cared for everyone. I was just trapped in myself in certain ways. So I just got more realistic in my expectations and came down to the level of the other team members in terms of how, I didn't, because I had this prideful thing. It's like, I'm the president, so you need to serve me. And that wasn't God. I'm supposed to serve them. So when I had that revelation and that heart change, that's when things got better and people didn't mind being around me so much.
I love your candor. I love it. A lot of times when people, think of the Christian, like I was a part of the Christian businessmen's, for a long time. And the revelation comes to a lot of us, and it's really interesting, but I've never heard it put the way you've put it. I love that. That's the freedom of being the boss. Honestly, you can just say what's on your mind. And I love that. So you met people where they were, and it sounds to me like, did your best to mentor them in a way that would benefit them long-term, not just your company, but them. They became people, not capital.
Right.
Okay. So how did that influence your leadership philosophy? Because this is not something you're reading in a book. It's not the, well, count off the books that we read. What you're talking about is learned experience. So how did those experiences impact your leadership style?
It made me more sensitive to each team member, who they were, what they needed, what they were going through, what I could do to help them.
And how did that improve their productivity?
It helped them to relax around me.
Well, how important is that to be relaxed around you? And then particularly in what you do, you know what I mean? Like if I'm talking, I had a financial advisor one time, and I didn't work with them very long because they were very nervous. They were nervous all the time. It was at a very large company in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they were just nervous all the time. It's like, man, stop being nervous around my money, bro. So having them relax in your particular field, in your, how important is that?
It's everything. Their work is so much better. Their work experience is so much better. And that's what I really wanted the whole way through. I was motivated to try to provide that. It's just, you can't give something that you don't have. So until the Lord changed me and made me softer, more compassionate, more caring, a lot less judgmental, that was the game changer. I was waiting for them to change. I was the one who needed to change.
Oh my goodness. Well, is it possible to have that sort of Glengarry, Glen Ross sort of animal instinct? I'm sorry. I just think that needs to be like in recruiting or being an agent, you need to have that boom, that sort of mentality, right? When you're in production. But the thing that I found is I was mostly the entirety of my success was when I had the drive, but I had the compassion for the person and the company I was representing. You know what I mean? It was a different thing, right? So it's having that animal instinct of going out there and getting it, but meeting people where they were. And that could be clients, that could be staff, that could be whatever, And so I love what you're saying. Absolutely love what you're saying. But is it possible in your field to have that ABC, Glengarry, Glen Ross, killer instinct, and still be who you became?
Absolutely. The way I think of it, if you look at horses, certain race horses are thoroughbreds, but they have to be trained in how to do things in an orderly way. Some of them are a little wild from what I've seen until they get broken and trained. So that's what the Lord does, I believe, is he gives all of us certain giftings, certain propensities, certain drive levels. Those are from him. But we have to learn how to use those in a way that's productive and loving.
I love that. I love that.
I'll tell you one of the ways that, and I learned this when I got back in the industry, I listened to a very wise gentleman, and one of his sayings, when I heard it back in the mid-90s, it just stuck with me. You can't manipulate and minister at the same time.
Say that. Wait, hold on. You can't manipulate and minister at the same time.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Wow. Who said that? Who cares? That's awesome.
A wise old man with a lot of white hair.
Man, I love that. You cannot manipulate and minister at the same time. That is 1,000% accurate. And you know what? Not to veer off on other things, but I feel like, sometimes our church has gotten away from that tenet in some ways. Our church, meaning being Christians. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Yeah.
there's like a doctrine or philosophy, not doctrine. It's become a philosophy instead of the cornerstone. You know what I'm saying? In some hallowed halls where the platforms become a stage and the pulpits become a desk.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree.
And it just, how amazing is it that, you know, our faith system, our belief system, is applicable to every aspect of life, from your career to making money, to knowing how to respect money, to knowing how to respect our whatever status, to want to go further, to benefit humanity, to benefit people. It's just amazing to me. It really, really is amazing to me. Man, I don't want to take another break. I'm going to, because we're trying to make money with the show too. So stick around, stay tuned. We'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to have more with Chris, and he's going to give us sort of his bullet points to success. So stick around, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films. You'll be glad you did.
Everybody, I just I'm blown away. This is amazing. I'm having a great time. We're here with Chris Clayton, CEO and founder of Cornerstone Financial, and we're going to have your website and everywhere to get in touch with you in the description. And I would suggest if you are in a position where you need you need a financial advisor, I'm telling you, you need to go to Cornerstone Financial. Your website is safestrongmoney.com. I mean, if you haven't gathered here, Chris, it's more than money for you. And I really feel the blessing that your company and you have been given. So let me ask you this. When we took a break, we were talking about, maybe giving some bullets for a successful career. You can get as granular or, 30,000 foot view as you'd like. But what are your bullet points for success?
For me as an advisor, my desire is to empower people. So this is what that looks like to me. My first step is, when I first meet someone, I just want to listen to them. I'm going to ask them questions, just like you're doing with me. And I want to hear what they have to say. I want to see what's important to them. I want to get a sense of them. I want to get a feel from my end, just like they're doing. Do I feel like I match up well with them? Because I don't match up well with everybody. I'm not called to everyone, but there are certain people the Lord definitely wants me with. So that's who I'm looking for. What I really want to do is make something that's complicated simple, and this is how I try to do that. I find out first, as mentioned, who are they? What do they have? What do they want to try to accomplish? So then what I like doing is we get a game board out and we put all of their financials on one piece of paper, so that for the first time in their life, they get to see everything that they have. They're used to dealing with things in a fragmented, piecemeal way. You buy some auto insurance here one day. The next day you go to your brokerage person and you talk about your brokerage account. The next day you talk to your real estate agent. But it's very rare that most people ever get to see all those decisions they've made on one piece of paper. So it really turns into a financial x-ray. So once we have the x-ray, we can both look at it and we'll have talking points. So we can go through their priorities, not mine. If I'm going to empower them, it's got to be their priorities. Now, sometimes they just say, Chris, these are the 2 or 3 things that are most important to me. I'm not savvy with all this stuff. You drive the car. Happy to drive the car. So we go through the process. It's usually a series of 3 or 4 meetings. Each meeting's typically an hour or more. But the whole way through, I want it to be focused on them and what it's going to do for them. And I really don't bring products to the table until we've gone through understanding each other, understanding what they have, and then looking at some potential solutions or options, whether it's problems or opportunities, or usually it's a combination of both. I don't want to lead with product. What I've seen, and too many industries do it, including the financial services industry, is that a lot of agents they're predisposed to say everybody gets a hammer or everybody gets a screwdriver. Well, I don't predispose anything. I have my go-to tools, but I just want to hear what the person wants and see what they need next. Then I know which tool to pull out of the toolbox.
That's awesome. I've never heard that approach before. That's very cool. Wow. That's very
And we're
cool.
different at our firm because more than many shops, we're a one-stop shop. So we're not married to one product. We have a multitude of products. Here we've got insurance-related products, investment products. We've got long-term care. We've got cash. We've got private equity. And then I advise on everything, including stuff that I don't sell.
Mm-hmm.
If I give disclaimers because I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, but I can give them some ideas within the constraints of my licensing in terms of what to do with their real estate, their businesses, their cash flow, their debt management, risk management, just all of that. So they have one comprehensive, airtight plan that they've put together.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So really it's staying abreast of what's going on, being a constant student, learning and being able to apply what you learn and doing those things to help other people and to be of service, really.
Yes.
Is what it is. And then the getting into Cornerstone and what you guys provide, my gosh, that's awesome. That is too cool. I mean, that is, well, while we're on the subject, is there anything particularly in this season where you would, depending on what kind of capital they have to invest, or, is it better to go into insurance, or is it better to invest in metals, or, whatever? What's some safe ways people can keep their money in this climate, and in some ways utilize this climate to make money?
Yeah, great question. So if you think back to feudal times when people were building castles, they would always build the wall before they would build the castle. Because if you built the castle and you didn't have a wall or a moat, it'd make it real easy for the thieves to get in and steal your castle. So the number one thing, and you don't hear this from the financial institutions very often because they're usually about the castle, but you need to protect the castle. So you need to handle risk management. So really that's a combination of auto insurance, homeowners insurance. Where I live, flood insurance is incredibly important in Southeast Louisiana.
Yeah, Houston too. Yeah.
Houston, no doubt.
Yeah.
Health insurance is critical, disability insurance, life insurance, all of those things really build your protective wall in the natural. I believe in a supernatural hedge of protection that Jesus and his blood provides, but also a natural hedge of protection. I believe in both. So that's critical. In terms of where to invest money, that's really a great question because we live in such difficult and uncertain times. So I'll just say this is that the Lord gave me the name Cornerstone. I didn't make that up. I asked him what to call the company. So it's Cornerstone. So what's the cornerstone? Well, the cornerstone is Jesus, but there's also products that should be cornerstone products that hold everything else up. What are those products? Well, if they're risk oriented, it may or may not hold everything else up. If it's guaranteed to work by a financial institution that's got the firepower to back up the paper in a contract, then you've got something solid. That's what insurance companies are great at. So I really believe in marrying the best of life insurance companies, the best of Wall Street, and the best of banks, along with any private things that people are doing on their own. So really pulling that all together and making it so that it's personalized, because different people want that to look different ways. But I'm always looking for the protection component married to their growth components of preference.
Great advice. Wow. Another one I haven't heard that very often. I love that. The idea of building the wall and the moat. And then that's so, wow. Yeah. Cause you're always focused on the castle. That is a fact. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. I love that. Okay. I don't know. I just feel led to, for however long, this is, whatever the Lord's put on your heart, I would invite you to share with our audience, with me.
Yeah.
And take as long as you want. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. So the first thing I would say is that even though it's indispensable to get good advice from various people, what I would recommend that everybody do is continue to search the scriptures for themselves and not just listen to other people and their voice, because even some of the most well-meaning voices are not always as accurate as they might think they are. So in order to truly fact check them, you need to be in the scriptures. The other thing I would add is God, as you know, is not a respecter of persons. If you ask for wisdom, he'll give it to you. You just don't have to, you need to not doubt and be double-minded. So I really like having relationships where I'm bringing something to the table, but also my clients bringing something to the table too. And oftentimes it's something fresh that the Lord's given each of us. So when we marry that, it's better than me just talking to someone, because by no stretch do I know everything that a person needs to know. So I just like, there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. So I really like people going to the Lord for themselves. I don't think people do enough of that. And I think they go to experts without doing their own research too much. I think that what people should do too is that it seems like almost every topic that you can think of within the financial services world could be controversial in one way or another. Whether it's how do you manage debt? Do you believe in annuities? Do you not believe in annuities? Is the stock market good? Is the stock market bad? Well, to really own an understanding of that, I believe that you have to study each of those topics for yourself and not just approach those things at a surface level. And then until you really feel like you have the body of knowledge that you need, and most importantly, wisdom to move forward, I wouldn't do anything with certain financial institutions. Financial institutions are designed primarily to promote the institution, not the individual. So you need to know that, and you need to understand what their game is. I'm thinking about the government, insurance companies, that's all of these institutions have the same rules. The number one rule is get your money. The number two rule is don't give it back unless they have to. And then number three is if they have to give it back, give you back a little bit of your money over number four, as long a period of time as possible. So you just have to be careful not to be used by financial institutions. I'm not saying be cynical, but I would just say study some things. I like when people take personal ownership and they don't trust me 100%. I actually get a little uncomfortable if a person trusts me without checking into certain things for themselves. How do they know what I'm saying is right? But I do have a good reputation, so that goes a long ways. Those are some things that are top of mind.
That's a good point. Well, it's the same with like patients, right? And doctors, having an informed patient, for example, where you're advocating for yourself. That's a big deal. And they like that, but rarely would you think about, in a financial advisory capacity where you're the doctor, your client's the patient. And if they trust you implicitly, I mean, it's great, but there's, it seems like there should be it's a team kind of thing going,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's the patient's life, it's the customer's money. You know what I'm saying? So let's do this thing together and be educated. And I love that. That is amazing. Very cool. Very cool. I got to tell you, and I think I think I've expressed it during our on-air conversation. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. I will tell you personally that I certainly needed it. And I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And I will also say you have an open invitation anytime you'd like to come on. And well, you just got to come back. That's just what I'm trying to say. I really hope you will. And just thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And it's been my pleasure. It's been great to visit with you today.
Everybody, again, we're going to have phone number, website, how you can get a hold of Chris at Cornerstone Financial. It's just been enlightening and wonderful. And thank you so much for tuning in. And as we always say, for everyone here at Work Your Career Wednesday and White Husky Films, I love you and God bless you. Let his face shine upon you and give you great peace. Be excellent to yourself and each other. And go check out Cornerstone Financial at safestrongmoney.com. See you next week.
And there you have it. I really hope that you got something out of this today. I know I did. And what was really interesting is that the timing of this couldn't have been better. I had just gotten out of the hospital and I wanted the week off, and so we were trying I was trying to reschedule Chris and it just didn't happen. And it was the best thing that could have happened that didn't happen. And I'm so glad we got a chance to talk with Chris. It encouraged me. I really hope it encourages you. So stay tuned. We have some really exciting guests coming. I mean, I just can't believe it. But we have some great guests on the horizon. Get ready for, I'm not going to tell you who it is right on this show, but he is a television star and stand-up comic. And I know you're going to love his story. And stay tuned for that and more just exciting shows and guests. But as we close every day, and as I closed just a few minutes ago in the show, I love you. God bless you. Let his face shine upon you and give you great peace. Be excellent to yourself and each other, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hey, if you like Work Your Career Wednesday and want to be notified every single time we have a new episode, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Smash it. Get a hammer and get it. And too much?
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love it. People want.
Do you hear Steven in the background? I was just making sure I'm going to be okay. But get that notification going. And hey, we will be letting you know, or I guess YouTube will be letting you know, when the next Work Your Career Wednesday is on. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Man, ding it, ring it, sling it, and bo-bing it. All right? And we will see you soon. Work Your Career Wednesday. Oh, great. I'm glad you stopped by. Be sure to get that subscription bell, and I'll see you there.